Chegou a melhor parte do podcast. É hora de provar a melhor Coca-Cola. A Coca-Cola sem açúcar. O sabor irresistível da Coca-Cola, sem açúcar e igualmente refrescante. Coca-Cola sem açúcar. A melhor escolha.
Pausa rapidinho agora para falar de dica de ouro para os papais e mamães. Depois de experimentar a nova Hug Supreme Care Fralda Roupinha, tudo ficou ainda melhor para o meu filho. É a única com canais em X que se adaptam aos movimentos, com 2 vezes proteção noturna e cintura elástica que se adapta ao corpinho do bebê, além de ser super fácil de colocar e tirar. Praticidade pura. Então guarda essa dica. Nova Hug Supreme Care Fralda Roupinha. Bebê, estamos juntos nessa, mais do que nunca. Agora curta seu podcast.
I am Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And we're paranormal specialists who live in the most haunted city on earth, Savannah, Georgia. Every day is Halloween in our line of work, so join us as we spin true tales of haunts, murders, and disturbing Savannah history. I'm Madison.
I'm Chris.
And welcome to the most haunted city on earth. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the most haunted city on earth. My name is Madison Timmons.
I'm Chris Susi.
And I'm JT Timmons.
Off in the ether. And
yes, I am.
Yes. And so welcome back, y'all. We are here for a interesting episode because today we are going to...
episode?
Wow.
I'm going to throw my boot at you.
It's a little early for mocking.
It was just so, like, I don't know, it was kind of cute that I just had to mimic it because I'm a mimic.
Just run you over like Ashley Siegel Squishmallow. Anyways, I'm going to only talk like this now.
Oh, no. Oh, God. Please don't.
Do you even hunt, bro?
Do you even hunt? What's up?
Okay.
My name's Brock. Anyways.
Totally Brock. Oh, all right. Oh, yeah. Ghosts.
Oh,
Anyways, welcome back, y'all. So we're going to be talking about Waverly Hills. We're not doing the deep dive, though.
No,
so
we'll definitely have leading up to our investigation, and I suppose that's segue into...
We are going to Waverly Hills on...
April 24th.
Confetti.
Yay. Joined again by the Ghost Brothers.
Yes, joined again by the Ghost Brothers. And we are going to be doing an overnight investigation. We had the whole property to ourselves. It's going to be
a massive property.
A massive property.
Ginormous.
A whole hospital to ourselves.
Yes.
So that's super cool. We are going to be going over just a glossing over Waverly Hills. I plan to read a couple books. I plan to read one book that's by a local historian from Louisville that I found that's all about the history of the property. And then I'm planning to read a book that another person from Louisville wrote about the ghosts of Waverly Hills.
Yes.
And I want to compare and contrast those things because when you go into a place like this, it's not like a house where you have your resident ghosts. And like there is a lot of things going on. And I think to understand the spirits of a hospital or a asylum, any kind of institution, you have to know what they went through to understand them. And so...
And hospitals in general, sanatoriums especially, are a concentration of people suffering. And that suffering is, by it in itself, a draw. It creates a vortex that draws spirits to it because you will not only be dealing with the people who suffered there, but the things that are attracted to suffering, the things that want to be close to the suffering. And that's something that people kind of gloss over is this attempt to find the histories of these individuals, but the individuals are only a part of the story. It's a cycle of suffering and feeding off of the suffering. So a lot of times people will experience things that they can't completely categorize because they are trying to frame it in that notion of, I know who died here, I know who suffered here. It's like, yeah, but you don't know what was pulled into the area by that suffering.
Exactly.
Yep.
So we're excited to go into this. We have a lot to compare now that we've done one notorious haunting. I think we have learned a lot from that overnight investigation. We're going to be doing, if God willing and the creek don't rise, it's we're going to be doing a all night live stream again for the Parajunkies. They really enjoyed it. It was really fun to have them as well, because they were able to note things that we weren't noting. Something that I think we should do a little bit differently at times is leaving the live stream in a room.
Yes.
Without us.
Without us. Absolutely.
Ooh.
And even with like a spirit box running.
Yes.
So if we leave a spirit box and a camera live streaming and then we leave, that puts you in control of that particular investigation. You are now sitting in a room. You're now having that. And it leaves us free to go and do structured videoing of other parts of the establishment with other cameras, with other equipment. So, I think that is a great way to include people, give you an opportunity to do an investigation of your own rather than, having to be guided by us, corresponding.
Exactly.
That's super cool.
And so as we did learn with being at the Conjuring House, what we wanted to do sometimes didn't work out. We wanted to, at times, to be down in the basement live streaming, or the cellar, live streaming. The Wi-Fi just wasn't happening down there,
No.
and so...
Well, the Wi-Fi wasn't happening anywhere around that house. We used, thank the Lord, that Verizon came through.
Yeah.
And we had that 5G LTE.
Right.
But the moment we went in the basement, it was like a silo.
It was
just
5G
like...
uwoo instead.
It was 5G uwoo.
You know how it says 5G uwoo?
It was
sometimes?
SOS.
Yeah, 5G uwoo.
Yeah,
And
it was horrendous. And in the basement or the cellar, it's like one of the creepiest parts. I mean, it truly is so creepy. And I was so disappointed that I wasn't able to bring everyone down there.
Down in a basement, and there's probably some anticipation that this is a large stone structure. This is a big thing, that there's probably going to be dead zones within the building where, signals may not come in and come out. So we'll locate the best place to set up, the best place to broadcast from. And then we will also have running down the halls with,
Personally,
with our other equipment.
I think it would be interesting to set up the live stream at one point in room 502, which is a pretty haunted room in the building.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
And so...
The 360.
360. Oh, we're gonna be 360. Speaking of 360, the basement video. We set up a 360-degree camera in the basement of the Conjuring House, and you can go on our YouTube right now and you can watch that video, and for 30 minutes be alone in the basement. Like, we just left that 360 camera running.
It's creepy.
It's dummy creepy. So yeah, let us know what you hear. Let us know what you see. And there's more 360 coming. And we're going to do a mess of 360 at the at Waverly Hills. Like, we have we're actually Debria, and we're bringing another camera person, Aaron, to this shindig, and they're gonna be filming while I'm like over doing the live stream stuff and the 360 stuff. So we're just gonna be killing it, left, right, front, and center.
Well, and something too is it was something we ran into in the Conjuring House. You don't realize how small that house is until you are in it. It is tiny.
With 8 people.
With 8 people. It is tiny. And, because at times, of course, we were, collaborating with the Ghost Brothers and things like that. But at times, everybody wanted to go and split and do their thing because we were, of course, still filming content for each of our own platforms. And so... that house is not subtle. I can't even express to y'all how unsettled that house is. Subtle. It is so crickety, and every time you're like, is that a footstep? It's the Ghost Brothers, or it's us, know.
We're just moving around. If you move at one end of the house, you hear it on the other end.
Yeah,
exactly.
Seriously.
And so I think we ran into some issues at times because of that. where when you're investigating, there is a degree of focus that you want to have and have your perception open because you're listening for things. You're trying to note things that seem abnormal in your general vicinity. And so when you have crickety floorboards above you, it can be a little bit distracting, if you will. And so it'll be interesting now having this much room.
Yeah, we have a lot of space to cover.
Yeah.
Because we could be literally on opposite ends of the building and you won't even know each other. But then when we come together, it could be very interesting as well. So there's a lot of room to cover. It's going to be a really interesting collaboration in that way. I think we'll all be able to be a little bit more perceptive than we were in the other investigation.
We're going to be going to places like parts of the building like alone.
Yeah. We're going to be grave encounterings it.
Yeah, grave encounters. Well, I was just
For
about
those who have not seen the movie Grave Encounters, it is about people who are trapped in a haunted hospital. So by all means, watch that, and then you'll fear for us.
I feel like they took ZB. Y'all know who ZB is. Old ZB. And his Waverly Hills.
Specifically his style.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I think they were basing it off
It was
of
ahead of its time, too, when you think about it.
Oh, yeah. It really was.
It was really well done.
Yeah. So with that, though, we're going to go ahead and dive on into Waverly Hills.
Oh, yeah.
So starting it off, Waverly Hills Sanatorium is located in Louisville, Kentucky. It has a rich and complex history, primarily known for its role as a tuberculosis hospital. So in the early 20th century, it was established. The sanatorium was opened in 1910 to accommodate the growing number of tuberculosis patients in the area. At that time, tuberculosis was a serious public health threat, and facilities like Waverly Hills were crucial in isolating patients and providing them with care.
They called it the White Plague.
The White Plague.
It's a really awful
It's horrible
disease.
Horrible disease. And it shapes, tuberculosis actually shaped much of our culture.
Yeah.
Almost the entirety of our aesthetic culture has a lot to do with tuberculosis.
So there you go. Due to the tuberculosis epidemic, the facility quickly became overcrowded, and a larger hospital was built in 1926. This new structure, designed in the Gothic style, could accommodate over 400 patients. It was considered one of the most modern and well-equipped facilities for treating tuberculosis. So though it is derelict-ish now and very scary looking, just imagine back in 1920, what did they say? 1926. This was like a bougie hospital.
Oh, yeah.
And so people were like, imagine if you have like a really serious medical illness and you go to like a specialty hospital. That's the equivalent of what this would have been.
Okay.
Yeah, it's built to be very beautiful. I mean, the architecture is very rich, very Gothic. You know, and it's like... Yeah, most institutions do not waste their time on aesthetics. So this place obviously had a lot of funding and a lot of interest.
Well, and there was still a degree of care for the patient experience too.
Sure.
Because I remember watching, I think it actually was Ghost Adventures. They were showing they had sleeping porches.
Yes.
If you've ever been,
that was Ghost Adventures.
Yeah. If you've ever been to Savannah, Charleston, or even New Orleans, they have them too. Sleeping porches were very common in the South, especially because in the summers, if you've ever been to the South, it's hot. And so there was no AC back in that time, and you don't want to be in a stuffy room. And so what they do is they build these porches, and usually they had some kind of netting or things like that to keep the bugs out. And you'd sleep out on the porch. And so what they had were these sleeping porches where they could wheel the patient's beds out onto the porch at night so they could get the cool summer air. So to me, that's a degree of care that not all hospitals at the time would have had.
No, there were, it definitely kind of lived in what we would think of as like a spa aspect to it, the retreat, where you're being cared for.
Exactly.
Because I think they were thinking that they could, curb it through healthy living, good diet, things of that nature. There are all kinds of tuberculosis was a challenge, so doctors were like, "I know what to do." Famously, Doc Holliday suffered from tuberculosis, and he was a Georgian, and they were like, "Get out of the humidity. You need to go to dry air." That's how he ended up in Tombstone. Because it's dry air. It's get to dry air. That'll help your tuberculosis.
So they were trying all sorts of things. That actually leads me into
when you pull up photos of it on Google, it's a sexy hospital.
It's a sexy hospital?
It looks really cool.
Those sexy tuberculosis hospitals.
Yeah.
Well, even that
it's the sexiest.
Comes to hauntings. I think we've mentioned it before, but some places ghosts are just like, I want to be there.
Yeah,
this place.
That's hot.
That was one of the main reasons why we were like at 140 Parajunkies, which when we got to 140, it was like this is the spot. This is the destination. Do you remember who brought it up? Was it Alex?
It was you.
I don't know who it was. I didn't know what it was.
I have no idea.
I think it might have been Alex Machado. I could be wrong about that.
I think it was in an interaction.
Yes, it was. Yeah. It was when we were live streaming for Parajunkies.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, so one thing though that was a little bit unethical, if you will, was patients at Waverly Hills underwent various treatments, and some of which were experimental and harsh by today's standards. Not uncommon for the time.
Oh, sure. They were trying to cut out pieces of your lung that they thought, they could isolate the damage. So there's surgery, terrible surgeries, terrible isolation treatments.
The focus was on fresh air, like Chris was saying, rest, and nutritious food. But treatments also included surgeries and other procedures that were believed to help lungs heal from tuberculosis damage. Now, okay. After the development of effective antibiotic treatments for tuberculosis in the 1940s and 1950s, the need for sanatoriums declined. Waverly Hills was closed as a tuberculosis hospital and was repurposed first as a geriatric facility. So the building served as a geriatric hospital until the 1980s, but was eventually closed due to patient neglect and reports of inhumane conditions.
Wow.
Yes.
So after its closure, the building fell into disrepair and became the subject of vandalism and local legends. It gained a reputation as one of the most haunted places in the U.S., with numerous ghost stories and paranormal claims associated with its history as a hospital. So today, Waverly Hills is a popular site for paranormal enthusiasts, and it is open for tours, including historical tours.
Thanks to Tina.
Yes, thanks to Tina, and ghost hunts. It has been featured in various paranormal investigation television shows and retains a significant cultural presence as a historical and supposedly haunted location. So the Waverly Hills does have a very, as you know, infamous haunted reputation. So here are a couple of the claims for it.
Okay.
So first off, the death tunnel or body chute.
Yay! That's what I'm most excited for. I want to just be alone in the body chute.
Okay.
You got it.
You got it. We can make that happen for you.
That's no problem.
So this tunnel, which was originally used to transport supplies and later to discreetly remove deceased patients from the hospital, is said to be haunted. Visitors and paranormal investigators have reported unexplained shadows, voices, and eerie feelings in the tunnel. Room 502. This room is perhaps the most infamous spot in Waverly Hills. Legend has it that a nurse committed suicide in this room in the 1920s, and another nurse who worked in the same room reportedly jumped from the window a few years later. Reportedly, reports ghostly figures, strange sounds, and heavy atmosphere are common in this room.
All right. And again, y'all, just if they just started joining in, this is just a brief overview. We're going to be doing a deep dive.
I'm literally skimming the very surface of it.
We're just talking about it.
Yes.
Right now.
The next one is the ghost of Timmy.
Yeah, Timmy.
So a young boy named Timmy, believed to be a former patient, is said to haunt the hospital. People claim to interact with his spirit through a ball
Yep.
So we'll have to bring some balls for Timmy.
We should try the balloon thing.
I agree. If you don't know what Chris is referring to, we learned from our friends at the Paranormal Society of Savannah. They did a technique where they brought a balloon to an investigation where basically they used it as a tool of moving for spirits. So they would ask spirits to move the balloon or touch the balloon or pop it, whatever, And so, which makes a lot of sense because it's so light,
Yes.
but it's also recognizable for a lot of different spirits.
Right. It's basically a ball.
Exactly.
And, balloons have been around forever.
Exactly.
But it's something very easy to manipulate and to move. I mean, probably more sensitive than a cat ball.
Yeah.
Certainly.
And so, and less jarring as a cat ball. Because could you imagine if you are from a time period where electricity didn't exist and there's this thing that's brightly exploding in front of you and you're like, oh my God.
I broke it.
It's going to explode. And so... yeah, I could see why cat balls could be a little jarring. But yeah, so I agree. I think we should attempt the balloon method, especially with Timmy. So he apparently plays with balls often, and they will move on their own. And some have reported seeing the apparition of a young boy running in the halls.
Yes.
So shadow figures and apparitions are very common. Many visitors have reported seeing shadowy figures and apparitions throughout the building, particularly in the hallways and on the 4th floor. These sightings are often accompanied by unexplained noises, cold spots, and general feeling of unease. The 5th floor, the entire 5th floor is pretty active, supposedly. Particularly room 502, as I had mentioned, is a hotbed of paranormal activity. This floor housed mentally ill patients and those with extreme cases of tuberculosis. Reports include ghostly figures, screams, and sudden temperature drops.
This is a scary place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's interesting because there's such a variety of experiences, different areas, different locations. And I have to imagine that there is a friction at this place from the different types of paranormal activity that will allow for a wider breadth of experience.
Exactly. There's also auditory phenomena. So unexplained sounds such as coughs, footsteps, and whispers are frequently reported by visitors.
I know we gonna hear a cough.
No,
I know we gonna hear a cough. We're all gonna freak
We're
out.
gonna be like, oh my god, they coughing.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Some have heard big echoing slams that resemble the sound of the old sanatorium's heavy doors closing as well.
You know the meme where the guy's like, he's a horrible rapper and he's like, I did that, and then his crew just like absolutely loses it. Like, yeah, that's gonna be us when we hear a cough.
That sounds about right.
The ghost is just gonna be like, like, arms crossed, like, yeah, I did that.
So the other thing is physical sensations. So people have also reported physical sensations such as being touched, pushed, or feeling sudden temperature changes, which are associated with paranormal activity.
So we need to be bringing a REM.
Yeah, we'll have our REM pod.
We'll bring all the
We didn't even
gear.
break out the REM pod, did we?
At the Conjuring, so much was happening at the Conjuring House, and
There's-
everything
we
was
had a
so
whole
small.
Case of equipment, and it was like, grab that, run.
Yeah,
Right.
it felt so like nothing against the house or anything, but it felt just so cramped in there and hard to focus on things. But I feel like we're gonna really get to spread our legs, and arms and just appendages in general, like here, and it's gonna just feel so
tails.
much more like, okay, let's get to it. Let's do all the things. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, too, there's more room to try things because we don't know what we're going to encounter to a degree.
Yeah.
Because it sounds like they have resident spirits, but a lot of it sounds like they are, to a degree, faceless spirits.
Sure.
Nameless spirits. With the Conjuring House, we had kind of a set idea of who we might encounter, and so we kind of went in with a mindset of like, this would be what works best
Yeah.
for those spirits.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a lot more room for experimentation. You know what I mean? Not to say we're experimenting with crazy things, but it's like you can play around a little bit.
But you can
more.
attempt, different types of contact, because when you're dealing with spirits that can be from childhood to old age, there's a myriad of different cues that you can use. You can a myriad of different attempts you can make to connect and contact. You know, you can play old music, big band music. You can have toys present. So it should be very interesting. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It might also be worth it, even though I find it very creepy, to maybe borrow the Paranormal Society's Boo Bear.
Oh yeah.
I find the Boo Bear so freaky.
I do not like the Boo Bear.
But here's the thing, though.
No, you're right. That's a good idea.
A child spirit does tend to react well to the Boo Bear.
Absolutely.
It's, you know,
No. I understand it. I just don't like it.
and they're just creepy. That's the problem with them, because they're like, hello.
Yeah, they put these creepy voices in them.
Yeah. Have you encountered a Boo Bear yet?
I haven't, but I think that it's
near me.
It's like,
Something's got me.
I'm encountering one right now.
yes.
A life-size Boo Bear.
It's like,
Is that Megan probably calls you her Boo Bear?
Yeah, big Boo Bear. I'm the big Boo Bear.
I'm the Boo Bear.
Hey, boo boo.
But it's true, though. They're freaky because they say these things, and it's like the teddy bear should not ever say these things. I don't like that this teddy bear says these things. But child spirits, you have to play for what they would find comforting or approachable. And, you know, it sounds like these spirits, at least from the glossing of understanding, it sounds like these spirits are very physical forward and less verbal forward, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I will say that I have learned from the Conjuring House that there is a difference between courage and brazenness. And
it's true.
Yes.
What a fact.
Yes.
And you know, Chris and I've never been frightened of anything paranormal, really. And when Chris and I went out to the barn, and if y'all have probably already listened to that episode about us going out to the barn, so I won't go too deep into it. But you know, I get all lit about doing something, and then I go out to the barn and with Chris, and you know, I got my life-size Boo Bear next to me. I'm like, all right, we good. And all of a sudden we hear those drums, and
your tail gets stuck between
my
your legs.
Tail went right
What's
between
the chill. It was such a distinct chill down the spine that more than the sound was the sensation. There's a sensation, the hackles.
Yeah.
You know, because it was not like a scary sound as much as it was almost like a puzzle piece being pushed into place in your mind that you're going to die. You know, that was the sensation. It was like, oh, by the way, that was the sound of something that wants to hurt you or you know, because there was menace to it all. But it's not scary in itself, but you have to take in, and that's what I always say. It's about the experience.
Yeah.
A paranormal investigation, a ghost hunt, if you will, is more about being in the space than it is like what you can catch on camera, what you can catch anywhere else. Because having listened back to it, it's like, you hear it. It's very clear. But
so clear.
That sensation isn't there. Because the sensation was we're not alone.
Yes.
The sensation was there's something right here, like almost within arm's reach of us.
It was like going into your house and thinking there is a small chance, very micro chance that there might be someone else in this house who's not supposed to be here. And then feeling the sensation of hearing something in the room that is definitely something in the house that's not supposed to be there.
Or just seeing somebody dip into a room.
And
you're like,
that's it.
Yeah.
That's where Chris and I,
instant menace.
You hear us in the video just freak out. We freak out because we lose it. We're like, we got to go back inside. This is horrible. This is a horrible thing.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? But yeah, it was just insane.
Yeah, JT got his first hit.
Yeah,
you know, it's
right.
So it's,
and then later that same night, and I feel very confident in saying JT was the focus point haunted activity that night. He got the brunt of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Because he's a married man. And
He's a married man in a house
Married
that hates
man.
married men.
well, loves married men,
Oh,
hates married women.
Hates married men. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Once married men.
yeah. And I was just over here freezing the whole time.
That's right.
You were
And
so cold.
I was so cold. And I'm normally cold. Like, I am usually a hot-blooded individual. Like, cold is like my jam because I am so warm all the time. I was literally like, and I got super weirdly lightheaded and fell into a door.
You did fall into a door.
Almost
We were
immediately. That was, like,
very.
within the first 10 minutes of being in
Now
the,
she was
in the house.
bent down, so I thought that there might be like a leg lock thing or something like that.
It was not.
But it was, yeah, I don't know. I have no clue. It was crazy. But going to Waverly with that, I just know myself, and I'm gonna do that same stupid stuff and just like jump right into the body shoot.
Sure.
'Cause you
And
got ghost heroin in your veins now.
yeah,
So
but
it's-
I just am like, oh Lord,
So,
what's gonna happen?
well, you never know. And,
Got the pair junkies with me
well, yeah.
and my boo bear.
And your boo bear. JT needs a emotional support boo bear at all
Yeah.
times. And so I wish one day we could bring our animals on investigations
Oh,
to
yeah.
these places.
There's got to be some places that are pet friendly.
Yeah, because it's like I want to at some point take Argyle, our silky terrier, because she is so perceptive.
Yeah, she is.
I want to take her to places and see how she reacts
Oh
to
yeah,
things.
she'll see something and immediately just go off on it, and we don't see it
Because she's very protective.
Yes,
And
yes.
so,
extremely protective.
Which could be a drawback
yeah.
because animals can fend off and
Yeah.
scare
Right.
away the very thing you're looking to capture.
Or, yeah.
Right.
You know?
Oh yeah.
So there is a double-edged sword to it.
Yes.
You know, bring your dog, especially for protections from spiritual entities, but know that the spiritual entities may stay away
Oh, yeah.
if your dog is being particularly forceful and protective.
She's 12 pounds of fury. So,
12 pounds of fury.
yeah, it's.
Yeah.
She's, so,
And I'll be like, Tartan, stop pooping in room 502.
yeah. That's true. Tartan's not very perceptive to things. He just backs Argyle up a lot of times.
Oh, sure.
And so, like, Argyle will be like, there's something over there. I have to kill it. And he's like, oh, we got to kill it.
I'll kill it too.
He goes, "Ah, woo, 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 woo." And so it's,
Yeah.
you know, he wouldn't be very helpful in these situations. But Argyle, though, like if you are a pair junkie, when JT and I went to the Devil's Tramping Grounds
Yes.
or whatever, we used Argyle to test that theory that animals won't cross through the plot. Mm-hmm. She ran right through that
Yeah,
thing.
she was like, no devil's gonna tramp on me, buddy.
Yeah. She's Australian.
She's Australian. That's that's the
There you
reason.
go.
She's an Australian silky terrier. Right. But what are y'all's like? What are you looking forward to the most? Like mine's a body shoot, definitely. But what are y'all looking forward to the most? I also I look forward to being in the middle of the hospital and seeing that we still have service for the live stream. That's another thing I really look
I'm
forward
Well,
sure
you know,
you're
any
looking
lore
forward.
that kind of surrounds the idea of somebody taking their own life, and then in that same room, someone else having the same notion to take their own life.
Yeah.
You know, that
Quite compelling.
that creates a compelling narrative of that space.
Yeah.
You know, what do we have in this space that could, because even, you know, because I think that it is one of those, how well documented is this? You know, is this a question of what people believe happened? Is it historically accurate? You know, how much of that can we stand on? But more than anything, it's the story people tell.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's the story that people focus on that space. So that space has within it a self-destructive energy.
Yes.
So I'd be interested to see what kinds of evidence or what kinds of sensations you can pull from that room.
Now this gets what I'm going to say next gets borderline trigger warning. But you know, I wonder if certain people with, I guess, depression or something, could the room be dark, that energy be so dark that it actually makes the depression worse or come to a head?
That was actually exactly what I was thinking.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you see that with places, it happens at the Sorrel Weed House. if you go into the carriage house where Molly was hanged, even though there's no obviously any connection to Molly having depression or any documentations of that, but for some reason that room in particular affects people who have depression predominantly. So it's very.
And there are locations all around the Suicide Forest. There's that weird bridge where dogs jump off of. There are all those things that are like there's something that can trigger your darker intentions or inclinations, certainly. So yeah, that's one of those things that you really want to get in there. Maybe do an Estes, but certainly. Get a chance to experience the room for its sensation.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, that's what I would say is my thing I'm the most curious about is the 5th floor in general.
Yeah.
Because I know everybody, like, when you see them talk about Waverly Hills on shows and stuff, they're always like the body shoot. But think about it. That was a transport tunnel. Yeah. The people are already dead. That's not where they died.
Yeah.
Go to the rooms where they died.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go to the rooms where they suffered.
That's just the dark tourism part of me.
Yeah,
I just want to
cool.
see where it all happened. Like I want to feel that, just like I don't know. I just want to walk down like I'm a person taking a body.
Sure, there's nothing wrong with that.
I mentioned before that I have my theories of basements and attics. And so the cellar is full of spirits that can't leave the area, but and know they're dead. That creates a concept of these spirits that are looking for release, and their specific desperation is to leave this plane.
Yes,
and so, as dark theories go, there is a consensus belief that when a person dies, a passage opens between this realm and the next realm. So you go down into a basement full of spirits that want to get to the next realm. The easiest door that they can get to is to kill you.
Yep.
And travel through the opening when your soul leaves this plane.
Well, hot damn.
And so, but yeah, it's interesting, because people love the morgue tunnels in Savannah. They love any kind of morgue tunnel because it is fascinating, but there's no indication that they use it as a mass grave. There's no indication of anything like that, because that's when I would start looking at that as a place of significant interest.
Yeah.
I would look at the room because I know they had to have a morgue room of some sort to hold the bodies before they took them down through the chute. And I think that there is one. It only has 3 trays or something like that.
Yeah.
And so,
but even a morgue is just the repository of the dead body. That means that somewhere on the grounds, people passed away at a very specific location, and in many of these cases, they were suffering all the way up to their death, which means that the encroaching death was full of panic, fear, tragedy, sorrow. There's so much going on. When you're dying of a lingering and painful disease, it's tuberculosis is constricting your lungs, literally squeezing the life out of you, and that notion of dying in that manner, that's a lot of awareness of death coming, and preoccupation with death is definitely a condition for haunting. If you go to a place where people are preoccupied with their own deaths, where they're dreading and fearing and having all these sensations surrounding their own death, which is why hospitals are generally haunted, is because it is a place where people go and there is already this deep sensation of panic and fear because you're in a hospital, and especially if you're chronically ill, hospital is oftentimes the last place you'll ever be.
Now, didn't Patrick go?
Yes.
Okay, we should have him on. We should have him on for. So I asked Miss Tina, who's the owner, I literally asked her like an hour ago. So and she has yet to text me back yet. But I asked her to be on one of the episodes. So we'll see if she's cool with it.
Yeah.
And then maybe Patrick on another one, and that'll be our 2-parter. Because that'd be kind of dope, right?
That would be.
Yeah, we want to get people who have had the experience there, and certainly the person who runs it would know all kinds of
she's super sweet. So
Yeah.
I think as long as she's cool with being on the camera.
And something else that last theory I have. So something you'll probably note if you go into popular paranormal spots is there's always these places where like this is the hot spot of all the activity. But you got to think about it. With the property this big, sure, we can all say like, oh, go to 502. But think about all the spirits that are probably going to 502 to be like, well, that's where everybody goes.
Where everybody goes, yeah.
But think about the spirits that choose not to do that and are starved of attention.
It's true.
So
very true. Yeah, the entire
be-
building is probably riddled with spirits.
Right.
Absolutely.
it might be interesting to pick a random room.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we're definitely gonna do that.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Pick a random room and see what is to be seen there, because you never know what spirits like, oh, somebody actually wants to talk to me, because everybody just goes to the body shooter.
Yeah, to the famous rooms.
Yeah, to the famous rooms where all the other like
There's a lot of rooms to explore.
Yeah.
There's a lot
So
of
that's
rooms to
honestly, I
explore.
think that's
and
a
the
great
grounds
idea.
itself.
yeah.
Yeah. Or we can ask to see which room maybe. I don't know, in
Sure.
some way.
Sure.
I'm sure there's logs and
Yeah.
things of people's experiences at Waverly Hills. As we get closer, we can start looking
I'm
at
gonna
other
ask the
people's
ghosts.
famous endeavors there.
I'm gonna ask the ghost.
Ask the ghost.
Yeah.
Ask the ghost.
What room to go to.
Yep.
But all right. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you're excited for Waverly Hills. It's going to be a really cool experience, and we're excited to go out there. We're excited to continue doing these investigations throughout the year. We're hoping to do them quarterly. We'll see what we choose to do after that. But
I think the pair junkies are gonna choose.
yeah,
We're gonna give them 3 locations. They have a ball, and
There's
we'll do a
Eastern State
poll on
Penitentiary.
Patreon.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
is-
I personally, I'm feeling camping at the Bridgewater Triangle in fall.
Oh, Bridgewater
Ooh,
Triangle.
that'd be
Absolutely.
I think
Interesting.
that
very
would
cool.
be super dope in
Well,
fall.
and we could probably swing a private tour of the Warrens Museum.
Yeah.
Because it's
yeah.
closed to the public now, but
okay.
but the people who run it, they go to conventions. They do
Yeah.
now Annabelle goes on tour. They'll take Annabelle.
You know when Annabelle goes on
to
tour.
Paracons all over the place. So I would be interested in
I feel like that'd be dangerous.
that.
It is.
Moving
It
that,
is.
Yeah.
moving that doll around.
Not a great idea.
She
It's
shouldn't.
like the truck hits a tree or something. It's like
Well, you assume the risk when
positively do not open my butt.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Comma my butt.
Yes.
That's what I mean.
Thank you.
you take it.
Don't open my butt either. though.
Yeah, but as long as we're at it,
Annabelle, don't. He's like, I'm not
that wasn't
consenting.
even a part of the offer. But all right, for clarification's sake.
Oh, this podcast is insane, y'all. I have fun
Anyways.
making it.
Okay, well, Well, on that note, we're gonna sign off. But yes, hopefully you guys enjoy the content that is to come. And with that, though, my name is Madison Timmons,
I'm Chris Susi.
and stay spooky, y'all.